Good evening. It is 6 p.m. This is the June 11th regular business meeting of the Sandwich School Committee. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we'll begin as always with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Members can listen and watch on Sandwich Community Television via live stream at sandwichtv.org or Community TV Education Channel 8. Our first item of the evening is our first public forum of the evening. Would anybody like to come forward and speak at public forum? Okay. If you haven't, you just need to your name and address. You can do it after. You can come on up, and you have up to 5 minutes, and just begin with your name. And okay, you sit there, and make sure the green light is on. And if you could just let us know your name and your address, please. Is the light on?
There you go. Sorry. Gianna Spinoza. My address is 46 Holly Ridge Drive in Sandwich. One, I wanted to start by saying we are not on the school grounds of Sandwich Public Schools, and this meeting is not considered a school-sponsored event. But on February 6th, for approximately 3 to 5 minutes, I, a licensed gun owner, was carrying a legally registered gun on the Forestdale school grounds. My weapon is from the parking lot to the entrance and back to my vehicle. My weapon was holstered, concealed, and safety on during these 3 to 5 minutes. As a figure in the community, many of you have trusted me with the most precious possessions, your children, your finances, your businesses, etc. For the past 7 years, I have volunteered at every event, volunteered at your children's classrooms. I have also had many of your children in my care for things like sleepovers, Easter egg hunts, and the tea time therapy sessions. I understand, although the following, all gun safety steps were taken during those 3 to 5 minutes, I was violating the Massachusetts law and will be navigating that through legal avenues. I am here tonight to apologize for those who feared for the firearm I possessed and explain that I in no way would have intentionally violated the law or trust of my peers. I do need to explain the context, especially to those with daughters. Over the past 2 years, I've been stalked, sexually harassed, and sexually assaulted. I carry to protect myself, my children, and anyone in the face of danger. I pray to God I am never going to be in a situation in which I have to discharge my weapon. If you cannot understand that fear, and you are fortunate enough to never have had to be afraid to walk to your car alone at night, never had to make sure that you keep your key in between your fingers while walking to your car, never making sure you have to make sure you lock the car behind you. But if that doesn't resonate with you, I'm sure you've all experienced the fear of going to a movie theater in 2012. I do want to say it was not intentional. It was not something I'm proud of. I would have never knowingly done so, but the morning was unplanned, and normally I do safely and secure my firearm more than 1,000 feet away from the school, because as the state law states, it's 1,000 feet away from the school, but the end of the Forestdale driveway is more than 1,000 feet, and I feel that as though if I'm in a school zone, I do immediately lock it up. I know that I did wrong, and I know that I'm going to face those consequences, but now, not only will this affect my children in the future, those 3 to 5 minutes of a mistake, but it's impacting them because I have been not only not allowed to go on Forestdale property, meaning not even able to pick up my children from school, which I can understand that I did wrong. But my daughter is in 6th grade at Oak Ridge, and I was told at 2:50 this afternoon that I would be unable to attend her breakfast. That may seem small to some people, but I lost my dad in the 6th grade and didn't have someone at that breakfast. I just wanted to publicly apologize to those who felt fear. In no way was anyone in danger. It is for myself and the experiences I've been through, but I am asking to be able to attend breakfast, even if that means I have to pay for a police escort, or so be it. But I did want to publicly take responsibility for my actions during those 3 to 5 minutes. I have a preschooler. I have, well, a niece in preschool, and I have a 7-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter, and I feel as though I'm going to face the legal repercussions for this. I've never been in any trouble. Passed a Corey check, passed federal background checks. I've been fingerprinted. I've helped many of you on many occasions start your businesses, set up bank accounts. You've trusted me with your social security numbers to set up your mortgages. I'm not a threat. I understand that guns are not something that everyone sees every day. My children are aware that we have guns in the home, and anyone who comes into our home, any friends of my daughters, their parents are told immediately before they enter the home. If they feel uncomfortable, then we would lock it in a different location. I just want to ask that I be able to be present in my child's life and not have this be something that is negatively being impacted for an hour and a half and like a week and a half before school ends. But I understand that a gun on school grounds can create fear. If I had had a badge, it wouldn't have created fear, but I don't have a badge. I have a license, and I understand that they are very different, and I'm not saying they're not, but I think the conversation just needed to be had about the safety of it. I was even in the classroom painting kids' hands to do a project at the time that I was told to leave. I guess that's it. I just wanted to apologize, and I'm asking that it be reconsidered, that I be allowed to attend an hour and a half breakfast with my daughter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you could just make sure, if you haven't already, put your name and address at the counter, please, just for our record. And just for your clarification, we cannot respond in public comment like this. Okay, I just wanted, just for everybody, we cannot publicly respond to something that's not on the agenda. So, okay, moving on. Next up is a donation from the PT Sandwich. Anybody else at public forum? I'm sorry. Seeing none. Next up is a donation from Sandwich PTA to Oak Ridge and Forestdale schools.
What you have for your consideration is a donation of 2 brand new refrigerators, one for the teacher lounge at Oak Ridge and one for the teacher lounge at the Forestdale school, generously donated by the elementary PTA for a total value of $1,700.
Can I have it so I can sign it?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry.
Well, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we graciously approve this donation from the SPS PTA for the 2 new refrigerators for a total value, one for the teacher lounge at Oak Ridge and one for the teacher lounge at Forestdale, for a total value of $1,700. Second.
Motion by Ms. Menendez, second by Mr. Fisher. You beat her to the punch. You did. This is what it is. If everyone could make sure their green light's on when they speak, that'd be helpful. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 7-0 with appreciation. Thank you very much. Next up is review and act on our meeting minutes of May 28th, 2025.
I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes as presented from May 28th, 2025.
Motion by Ms. Menendez, second by Mr. Fisher. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 7-0. Thank you. I skipped Ms. Shreya, so next up is our student representative report. Apologies for that.
Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are having a good afternoon with all the pizza and ice cream sundaes. This is sadly the last student rep report of the year, but don't worry, I'll be back next year, so you guys, you won't like miss me or anything too much. But first of all, for Forestdale, they had a field day. Like they have their field day and stuff, which is so exciting because that means that like, you know, school's coming to an end, the sun's out, so it's like warm weather. There's like, I remember like the popsicles and face painting stations. One year we volunteered at the Forestdale field day events, and there were like face paintings, and this one kid kept on coming up to me, and it was like a Bruins logo, and he was like, "This is a terrible job. Why'd you paint that on my face?" And then I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you so much. I'm not that artistic." And then he kept on coming up to me, so I was like, maybe there is something artistic about what I painted. So maybe there's something, but that's exciting for Forestdale. And they also, like the second graders are like, they had their step up day where they went to Forestdale, and they went to Oak Ridge, and they like toured the new building, and you know, where we were talking about earlier, like bonded with hopefully like the sixth graders. I think they gave them the tours, and like showed them around where everything's gonna be, and it's a great way to like build a community between our like schools that we have. And so at Oak Ridge, there was the students from the Oak Ridge Science Fair, they came to the Deeper Learning Expo, which I know I like talked a little bit about earlier, but they were so excited to be there and like share all of their amazing like science projects that they did to everyone. So, and it's great and like a lot of high schoolers were very impressed by their projects and everything that they accomplished. Especially there was like a teeth one, and it showed like how much your teeth rot based on the drinks that you have, and it was like the strawberry lemonade refresher from Dunkin'. Not many people were happy to see the results, but I mean, because everyone has those every day, but including me. And at Oak Ridge, there were also lots of like socials, which is kind of like the dances that 5th and 6th graders have, like similar to like our semis or like kind of like our homecoming. And it was so like, the pictures are so cute because they were all dressed up in like ties and suits and like wearing dresses, and it's like so adorable to see like little younger people wearing like such fancy formal clothes. And at Oak Ridge, they also had art like chopped, which is essentially like when they get like a mixed mystery box of just like a random material, and they like create art projects based off of that. And like you have to like think very fast. It's based off of the show, but it's so great to like see them like express their creativity in this way. And I feel like when they see like reflections of like what they're learning in school on like real life, they like are very excited to learn, and like they want to know more. So that was great for them. For high school, we had a lot of like international trips coming up, such as there's one in Japan for like 9th and 10th graders, and then there's one that's in like 2027, but there's also one that was approved for Rome. And I think like this is great because there'll be like more opportunities for our students to be traveling internationally, which is like a lot what like the students want. So it's great that we're going to be getting more trips. The Unified Theater, they selected, like they had their performance, and they had Disney movies and scenes and songs that they all performed their hearts out to, which I know they practiced a lot during Best Buddies because I love Disney songs, so we would listen to Disney a lot. And Jill is a fantastic singer, especially in Moana, so you guys definitely, next time they have a performance, should go. And also a huge congrats to the baseball and lacrosse teams for the accomplishments that they made. I think they both made it to like the Final Four. So that's amazing for them. And we're so proud of like our athletics. And for seniors, they're like gone now, but they had lots of fun. They had a senior week, which was, they had like their breakfast, Six Flags, Adventure Park, boat cruise, and then they also had their graduation. And it was very sad, obviously, to see them leave, but it's so amazing and like so exciting to see what everyone's gonna do. And although like graduation weather wasn't the best, it was a little bit cloudy, but their futures are so bright, so we're like so excited to see how far they're gonna go, and hopefully they'll visit a lot. Speaking of seniors, JT, shout out, on his show, he conducted like a podcast where he interviewed like the class of 2025 on kind of like what they're doing next and like how their experience was. And this was like extremely special because it's a tribute to them, and they can like go back and like listen to that podcast like whenever they want, which is so great. So thank you, JT. And 8th grade also had their semi, which was our other pair of seniors. So they've also been having their senior week, which seems so fun. I would love to go on a whale watch one day. But they had like a lot of activities that they did, and then they also had their semi dance, and I think they're having their graduation sometime soon, so very exciting for them, and huge congrats to anyone who's in 8th grade. And in chemistry classes, shout out, they made lots of ice cream, so we never got to do this because I think we ran out last year, but they were like using chemistry to explain how to make ice cream. And in AP Chem, we made slime, and like how different materials can like change the bonds and like the relations between the chemicals on how the slime is formed and like the feeling of it. So that was really fun too. So yeah, those were all the updates. And I also want to say thank you guys so much for giving me such a great year and opportunity to be your student representative. I'm so thankful, and I'll be back next year, so I can't wait. And I'll forever be grateful for every single one of you. So thank you all so much. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
Thank you. Any questions for Shreya?
Oh, thank you. Have a great summer to everyone too.
Thank you, Shreya.
Thank you.
Next up, correspondence and announcements. I have no correspondence. Does anybody have any announcements? Seeing none. We have a lot of people in the crowd tonight, so I'm going to adjust the agenda just a little bit, and we're going to jump down to new business and do the recognition of the Sandwich Public School Golden Apple Awards, unless anybody has an objection. Seeing none. Over to you.
So just for people in the audience and, just the context, this is a program that we began last school year, and the intent is for this school committee to recognize and honor exemplary educators and staff members who consistently go above and beyond to meet the needs of students and their families. So the intent is the school committee, as the elected governance board of our public school district, to reach out and hear directly from families. So what you're going to hear this evening are going to be the nominations, and I think there was a total of 81 that came in for this round, what people said directly about these outstanding educators that we're going to honor this evening. Keep in mind, and we've been very upfront, that really it's a fourfold criteria for this award. First, that the educator or staff member first understands the needs of students and families, that they consistently understand the specific needs of students and addresses it in a personalized and differentiated manner. Second is demonstration of creativity, enthusiasm, and determination. The award winner approaches instruction or the provision of services with creativity and enthusiasm to the point that it's motivating in students. There's always determination to ensure that student achievement is at the forefront of all practices. Third is, the third criteria is academic and or social emotional impact. The award winner has made a substantial difference in the student's life through their instruction and or provision of services, so that the student's academic or social emotional outcomes have been dramatically impacted for the better. And then last, and equally important, is partnership to achieve excellence. Again, thinking about the linkage with family, the award winners consistently communicate and proactively partners with the family in a personalized way, so student achievement and well-being is highly impacted. So as I said, we had a lot of nominations. I don't envy the ad hoc subcommittee that we put together to go through all of these nominations. But what we will do is we'll kind of go in order of the schools. We'll do Forestdale, Oak Ridge, and then the middle high school. And I think, Alexis, you have some excerpts of the nominations for our Forestdale recipient.
So our nominee and our winner is Miss Christine DeAngelis Weber. Congratulations. These are some of the comments that were posted for your nomination. Miss D has been one of the best teachers we have encountered in our time in the Sandwich school system. The way she approaches her classroom is so welcoming and understanding of each student's individual needs. We love that she has a flexibility in learning styles, allowing the students to make decisions from when to eat their snack to allowing them to switch spots in the classroom when they need a change of space. She is kind and compassionate and very communicative with the families. We feel very lucky to have her educating our daughter. Our daughter Allison can be anxious and self-critical. Miss D has checked in with her many times, as well as checking in at home. She was also able to relate to Allison on a deeper level, as Allie is often sad when her father is away for work. Miss D has empathized with Allie, reminiscing about her family's time in the military. She has made Allison feel understood and loved. And just for clarification, I was given permission to use the student's name for that. The impact Miss DeAngelis has had on my son's growth cannot be overstated. This year, we have seen remarkable progress, not just academically, but in his self-confidence and emotional well-being. Ms. DeAngelis creates a safe and inclusive environment where students feel valued and respected. My son feels seen, heard, and encouraged every day, and that sense of belonging has transformed his outlook on school. One week, when my son was unexpectedly hesitant to go to school, Ms. DeAngelis took the time to call me and thoughtfully work through possible reasons for his hesitation. She followed up with both my son and me throughout the week, offering updates and support. Her compassion and proactive communication during that challenging time made a lasting impact on both of us, and I was incredibly grateful for the care that she showed not only for my son's well-being, but for mine as a parent. Communication with families is another area where Ms. DeAngelis truly excels. She maintains consistent and thoughtful communication that goes beyond grades and assignments. She reaches out to share successes, asks for input, and collaborate on solutions when challenges arise. I have always felt like a true partner in my son's education, thanks to the respect and openness of Ms. DeAngelis. Thanks to the respect and openness that Ms. DeAngelis shows in every interaction. This one says she goes above and beyond to get to know her students and their families and goes the extra mile to give her students the best opportunities for success. When I speak to her about my daughter, she genuinely knows my daughter as a person, not just a member of her class. She knows how hard my daughter works and regularly shares with me her successes and communicates with me about her struggles. She has met with my daughter consistently to give her extra help in math for the last few months. She really does go above and beyond for her students and their families. We feel lucky to have her as a teacher, and she genuinely deserves this recognition. Miss DeAngelis has gone above and beyond to make my son's last year at Forestdale a positive and successful one. My son really struggles socially and emotionally, and she has gone out of her way to make accommodations for him. She has never given up on him, and through trial and error has done her best to make him feel seen and heard. Her ability to recognize that all children have different needs and learning styles, and adapting for them is way more than I as a parent would have expected. She is a rare gem of an educator and deserves this recognition. She really does care about her students, and it is why we all love Miss DeAngelis. And that is comments.
Christine, please come on up. Don't go anywhere yet. There's a photo op. Okay, now for the Oak Ridge presentation, Danielle Binyenda.
Thank you. Tonight I have the honor to recognize Alexis Bronner from the Oak Ridge School. She's a teacher in the transitional learning classroom. And a few comments about Alexis that there was a consensus that came about. A few different individuals was thoughtful, caring, relationship builder, consistency, faces challenging circumstances, but is always a steady presence. So some of the comments were, they were really great. You got some really nice, touching comments. She has a deep understanding of social emotional learning and knows how to build trust with students who may struggle to trust and feel understood. Alexis helps bridge the gap between what a student is experiencing and what the adults and peers around them see. She brings consistency, care, and clarity to kids who need it most, and the difference she makes is felt far beyond the classroom. Another comment was, she understands that students can't fully engage in academics until their emotional needs are supported, and she meets those needs with care and respect. Alexis demonstrates creativity and determination through the thoughtful way she supports each student as an individual. She finds strategies that work, adapts when things don't, and always keeps the child's well-being at the center. She's a strong advocate and a dependable support for students who benefit from having someone who truly sees and understands them. Another comment was from, I had reached out to some colleagues of Alexis to try to see what their take on her was. And one was, Alexis has a remarkable ability to make others feel valued and supported, whether they are students or staff. Her words are always thoughtful and intentional, and she approaches even the most delicate situations with empathy, compassion, and grace. It is no surprise that she is trusted with our most sensitive matters, and she handles each one with the utmost care and professionalism. Anyone would be lucky to have Alexis Bronner by their side. Her support is unmatched, and her presence makes our entire school community stronger. So I wanted to congratulate you, Alexis. We are so lucky to have you in our school district.
Now for Sandwich Middle High School, Dr. Miller.
She builds strong relationships, inspires kids to want to learn. Ms. Harwood cares so much about every one of her students, and they know it. Nancy has taken the time to figure out my students' strengths and weaknesses. She takes the extra time to help figure out why a student may be struggling and offers extra help. Nancy is determined for all her students to succeed to their highest potential. Ms. Harwood is a creative educator who makes math accessible and meaningful, connecting it to real-world situations. She engages students through hands-on learning, often using manipulatives to deepen their understanding.
Come on up.
And at the high school, Kristen Earl. Ms. Earl is a caring and effective teacher who gives of herself and achieves results such as preparing my daughter for MCAS retakes and building up her confidence to do so. Ms. Earl does this in a caring and supportive way. Ms. Earl constantly supports my daughter and makes her feel important. She communicates with us constantly with issues or problems or simply to give praise. Ms. Earl thinks outside the box to make instruction more engaging and meet students' needs. She has aided my daughter in all aspects, from preparing for interviews for swim team captain to getting set for permit testing for driving. Kristen demonstrates creativity in her teaching style, allowing students to share their thoughts on current books read in class and allowing fun, interactive activities and projects. Ms. Earl has taught the student to become more of an advocate for himself, which is an important life skill.
If I could have all 4 recipients please come up here.
Why don't we come around? Quick editorial comment. There's all of us who have been up here have every once in a while said, this is a headache. Why do I do this? This is a quick reminder to me as to why we do this. And you've probably all heard me say that the Yellowstone trip is my favorite agenda item of the year. That just got supplanted by a long shot. Congratulations to you all. This is just a humble reminder for us of what a great school system we have and the people we have in it. So congratulations to our awardees and to all our nominees. Next up, it's hard to top this, but Ms. Bordelin with the nursing update. Come on up. Congratulations again. Thank you. That was awesome. Good for the soul. No pressure, okay?
Never. Hi, everyone. It's been a while since I've been in front of you. As always, I appreciate you giving me some time to do an end-of-year update. I just want to take a moment before I start to give a heartfelt farewell and good luck to our retiring nurse, Jenny McDonald. She is currently the most senior nurse in the district. And she is the only nurse the STEM Academy Middle School has ever had. So she'll be very much missed by our group. Alrighty, so I always like to give everyone just an overview of how we're staffed right now, 2 at the elementary schools. Again, Jenny's retiring, so we shall wait to see her replacement. We have Cindy up at the high school, myself as the department head. Sadly, we are down to only 2 per diem nurses at this point in time, but they are both fantastic. So, I like to preface this by saying my census numbers that I used were given to me by Sue Garvey on June 2nd. They reflect only those students who come to our school buildings physically to use and would use our nursing services. So right now you can see, we see almost all of the kids. In Forestdale, there are 583 kids, and we have seen 538 of them. Oak Ridge, 676. We've seen 608. And the middle high school, 748 and 668. As you can see, if you look at the numbers, Oak Ridge is technically the busiest, given their number of kids to number of visits. They definitely have the most used office at this point, which if you look at the age group, that sounds just about right. If we go on to the next slide. So in total, we currently have 2,007 students attending the schools physically. I like to break this down a little bit, and so this year I did. We had 18,475 unscheduled student visits for this year in 183 days. When I say unscheduled, that means that is not taking into account the students that have to come see us every day, either for medications or special needs care. So out of those 2,000 students, we treated 1,814 of them this year. That's 90% of the district population has used the nurse's office in these 180 days at least once. We did run an interesting report. We do have kids we've seen more than 50 times without medical needs, but that's a different topic. So I know sometimes we kind of fall in the background, so I just like to point it out that we see almost every kid at least once a year, and that doesn't count screenings and all that good stuff. So to give you a sense of our acuity this year, we had 7 students with type 1 diabetes, and I give those kids an amazing amount of credit because that is not an easy condition to manage during a school day. 22 with seizure disorders, 125 with asthma, anxiety, ADHD. As you can see, your typical stuff, but we have a robust group of kids who need to have medical care in school. Our next. Injury is always a fun topic. This year we dealt with a total of 31 concussions, 18 of them as a result of school activities, which again, totally typical. We have a robust athletic program and these things happen. 13 of them resulted from outside of school things. I'd like to give you a little breakdown of when it's in school, where our injuries are happening. Of course, recess and gym. That's a given. These are children. It's a norm. 196 happened in the classroom. Injuries, there's a wide variety there from, the slammed finger in a door to what we would all consider a real injury, We only had 7 ambulance-worthy dismissals this year, and that is pretty good. Between illness and injury, and I'll tell you, 6 were for injury, 1 was for illness. So not too bad. Over 2,000 kids over the course of a year. Of course.
Do you have any idea historically what that number is?
Last year, I think it was 12.
Because I didn't know if that was a high number or low number.
No, last year it was 12.
Okay.
So I keep my presentations from year to year, so I can.
That's fine. I just have a benchmark, that's all.
Yep.
Just before we leave this, concussions, were the concussions confirmed via a protocol by a medical provider?
Absolutely. We do not treat them as a concussion without that. Even if the athletic trainer starts the process of saying, I believe as a result of what I just witnessed, you have a concussion, it all has to be confirmed through a physician.
Great.
As always, we do our health screenings every year, so we had 1,100 students that we screened for and again, like I said, this is not in our 18,000 visits. So an additional 1,100 kids had vision screening, 900 had hearing, almost 800 for postural, which is scoliosis, and we hate doing it, but we have to. 600 for checking their height and weight. 93 kids were referred for issues with vision, 33 with hearing, and 20 for postural screening issues. Behavioral health. I like to throw this in because Sandwich is a great district. We have a robust support system between our social workers, our TLC rooms, but your nurses do serve as that second line, and even with all those supports, we had 314 students use our offices for emotional dysregulation, behavioral health assessment, and addressing of needs. The other responsibilities, I just kind of wanted to do an overview of this year. Field trips takes up a lot of the nursing hours. So in total this year, and all this data was done just in May, so this does not count all the excitement of June, there were 169 field trips this year across the schools that all had to be reviewed and approved by nurses. On 44 of these trips, a nurse was required to be in attendance to address a student's medical needs. We addressed and approved 17 different projects that used food in the classroom because they were curriculum-based. But that does involve reviewing every ingredient that's going to be done, making sure that parents are aware that these ingredients are being used in the classroom, and allowing those parents a chance to opt out and seek an alternative project to replace that. And with the number of food allergies that are out there, it's just something that we have to do, because we can all say all we want, it's just for the project, but every kid's going to sneak a little something in their mouth, especially when you're building marshmallow bridges. The nurses might too. So. In the elementary schools, they spend about 100 hours a year on kindergarten and preschool registration. They are, as you guys know, the starting point for most of our students. The majority of our kids start with us at preschool or kindergarten, so they're the basis of making sure that the kids have all their medical documentation in a row, understand what's going to be needed at school, get their immunizations up to date. These nurses do a ton of communication. Outside of preschool and kindergarten, during the school year this year, we had 46 new enrollees outside of the normal school starting time, and all reviewed by your medical staff.
Sorry.
This one, of course.
This one's actually, you're off the hook on this one. 46 kids coming in mid-year, is that, again, I don't have a good benchmark. Is that a low number, high number?
I think that shows relative stability. You know, in a district of about 2150, that's a little over 2%. So that's not a terrible amount of mobility.
Okay. I had no sense
Pretty
of
stable.
reference. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I like to address our polished dental program. The numbers there sadly have been slowly declining, which is a shock to me, considering anybody who lives on Cape knows how hard it is to find a dentist that's taking new patients or good with pediatrics. So I always like to just throw a shout out there. Parents, Polished Dental is a wonderful program. Oak Ridge had 44 students who received that dental evaluation and cleaning. They all received a fluoride varnish, and 10 of them received sealants. At Forestdale, we had 68 kids. All received a fluoride varnish, and 31 received sealants. I am going to preface this by saying if you have any questions about varnishes and sealants, I think Miss Benenda could answer that far better than I can. I am not a dentist, but I know that these are good services.
Yeah, it seems like Forestdale would be right for 31 sealants because those 6-year molars have erupted. So in that age bracket, that's a perfect time to do sealants. Protect.
Wonderful. Glad we're
those
doing it
teeth
then.
from decay. Yeah.
My own son always used Polished Dental, and I really loved the convenience, and they were so kind. Challenges. Things that we're going to address in the 25-26 school year. Hiring and training a brand new middle school nurse. It's going to be hard to replace Mrs. McDonald, but we'll do it. Collaborating with Dr. Maruzchek and Michelle to hopefully increase the number, the per diem pay for our nurses, to increase our per diem pool. It's a rough one. There's not a lot of nurses around, and the pay is hard to compete with hospitals and doctors' offices. So we've reviewed all the data of the districts around us. At the moment, we are the lowest paying district, so we're aiming to meet our neighbors. We'd like to continue to provide CPR and stop the bleed trainings to our staff. We'd like to get a little bit better handle on food and latex in classrooms. Latex is one of the biggest growing allergens for adults and kids, and not all of the schools have adopted the latex-free policy in the handbooks. We still see a lot of balloons. We still see a lot of things from the Dollar Tree and from Oriental Trading, and it all contains latex. And so we're just going to continue to work on that. We'd like to increase the number of AEDs so that the elementary schools can each have one on the second floor. And we'd like to increase participation in the wellness committee and work with administration to see if we can identify some dental service offerings for our students above the elementary school. While I'm here, I always like to address the Comprehensive School Health Services Grant. This is our 3rd year as recipient. The amount did go down again this year. This year we received $24,000. As a caveat, with the current political administration, we will wait and see what next year brings. We all know there's significant public health cuts. I don't know what this will look like next year yet. But the grant has been as useful as always. It was able to cover the cost of 250 nursing hours for office support, field trips, screenings, all those things. It could have covered more. We just didn't have the staff to pay to work. So we offered CPR classes. Didn't get as much interest as in the past, but we had 25 non-medical employees attend CPR classes. We did buy all new CPR mannequins using the funds because the American Heart Association has changed their requirements, so our mannequins were out of date. We did buy an advanced mobile vital signs monitor, and that was purchased for use at SMHS, and it supports all of our students, but the reason we bought it is for response during real emergencies that require monitoring for a period of time while we're waiting for EMS, and for use on students that are undergoing monitoring in our office for eating disorders, which we do that for some of our students, and we collaborate with their treatment team. We also used a large part of the grant in collaboration with Dennis Yarmouth and Nauset to host an evening PD for the Cape Cod school nurses, counselors, and social workers. It hit a record as far as attendees for something on Cape of 77 attendees, which doesn't sound like much, but if you just think about on the Cape and how many schools there are, and it was something that we chose to do because sadly the Cape, I'm sure teachers feel it too, but the nurses and social workers know the Cape is ignored whenever the state puts anything on. They do it very central, so we all have to drive really far. So this time we took charge and we hosted it here. We flew in some wonderful speakers who spoke about Munchausen by proxy, and they gave just an unbelievable presentation. We used grant funds to help with the wellness fair, and we paid for 4 nurses to attend a program and get a mini Masters of Public Health.
Mr. Fisher.
Mr. Fisher. Hello.
Good presentation. Nothing extra.
Bring your mic down.
I put it down. Okay. How's that work? Okay.
People can hear you at home.
In elementary schools, I poll the kids from time to time on how many of you, well, I have 2 polls. One poll is how many of you have asked to go to the bathroom when you didn't have to go to get out of class. That's 100% almost. But the other question I'll ask, which is, how many of you have asked to go to the nurse when there was absolutely nothing wrong with you just to get out of class? Frequent flyers, I guess they might be called. How do you address that issue?
So September is always a freebie. We'll give you that. After September, we have a fantastic electronic data system that only the nursing department uses. And we can identify every month how many kids we have seen more than any set number of times. We usually stick with 3. If you don't have a medical condition and we're seeing you more than 3 times in a month, we want to know why. So we collect our data at the end of every month. There's data that I share with you guys every month that you see, and there's data that we have as a department that's a lot more broken down. And we look at when are they coming. Can we identify if it's the same time every day? Much easier at elementary school, not so much at the high school. But if you identify Bert comes down, wow, every day, sometime between 10 and 11, then you can call back to the teacher and say, what do you do during 10 and 11? You find out it's English, you find out it's math, you find whatever. Sometimes you find out, guess what, it's social time. Then we have some data to start working with the teacher and say, look, something's up. Bert is here all the time for we never say nothing, obviously. But after we've done our assessment and we've found no cause to be concerned, we're gonna say, what else is it? And so that gives us our data to work with the teachers. And we actually, one of our nurses, that was her SMART goal this year, and it's going quite well. She's tracking a specific group of students, and their visits were drastically decreased by May.
That sounds very, very efficient and
Thank you.
Well, very well done.
Thank you.
That helps minimize that.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, there are some kids who just love a nurse. They do. I mean, they like the models, they like the manipulatives we keep in our office, they want to ask questions about the posters. But we work with them and we say, in the future, you can be a medical professional too. But right now, you get to go to class.
If they're out at recess, because what I've done is, I always send, if a kid's injured, I always send another kid in with him. Should an adult go in if a kid is injured?
Beyond Forestdale, no. They're all good. By the time October rolls around, they know where they're going. They know how to get back to recess. They know their teacher. And trust, the kids will speak up. The ones who are new, they'll say, I don't know how to get back to my classroom. Somebody sent me in here. And then they get to know the nurse a little better, and we walk them back. Forestdale, they usually are accompanied because they're so tiny. Beyond that, no. It's good independence for them.
Dr. Miller.
Do we try to keep track of families or responsible adults of the primary healthcare provider? In other words, do we know the percentage roughly of students who don't have an identified primary care doctor?
It is very small. Now, I will say we try to keep track it very well, but it is voluntary, obviously. And our biggest problem, and I think everybody will acknowledge, as we have moved towards a paperless environment, which I 100% support, parents do not fill out these re-registration forms at the beginning of the year, and that's where the data comes from. So did we even hit 50% this year? I think we did. I think we did the best this year. But so if parents fill out the forms, we have all the information. Now, when we get in the nurse's office, when we get someone's physical in or a physician's note for an absence, we make note of that. So we know if they're seeing the big practices. Our percentage of kids without an actual PCP, 10% at the most, I would say. And I'm going to be honest, the majority are our newcomer families, our ELL students, and that's just a Cape-wide problem. That isn't a sandwich problem. There just aren't providers that have the services or the interpreters for these families.
And if they're followed by one of the community health centers, that's considered a primary
Absolutely.
provider.
Mm-hmm. We have pretty good communication with the Cape Cod Community Health Center. Not so much with Outer Cape Health because they're farther out, but we have our contacts and we get everything we need through them. And we work with Barnstable Public Health, talk to them at least once a week, getting people set up for immunization appointments, things like that.
And then just to follow up, on the immunization side, would you say in your experience of many years, do you see an increase in the number of
exemptions? I sure do. And the state has come out and said it as well. We are one of the pockets that our immunization compliance is dropping each year, which is not good.
Thank you, and I really appreciate the unduplicated numbers. That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Thanks for all you and your staff do for our kiddos every day.
Thank you.
And have a great summer.
You too. See you in the fall.
Okay, we will move back and get ourselves back on the order of the agenda. So we'll move on. We'll flip back to the superintendent's update. Dr. Marchette.
All right. Well, good evening once again. Just really one thing that I want to highlight, and I kind of feel like it's important to share the so what of this. But on Monday, we had the pleasure of, we had not only the EEC, which stands for Education in Early Care. It's basically the the state agency that oversees preschools and pre-K programs. Their commissioner, Amy Kershaw, but also the Secretary of Education, Patrick Tutwiler, visited our district, and specifically to kind of look at the districts across the Commonwealth. They're calling it the CPPI Roadshow, who've received this Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative grant. There's a total of 16 of us across the Commonwealth, and the feedback that we got was, oh my God, Sandwich, you are doing some amazing things. You are really one of our amazing adopters of this program. Keep in mind, we've received over the last 3 fiscal years $2.5 million from the state to kind of not only strengthen our own preschool program that we have at Forestdale and through the School for Early Learning, but to create partnerships with the private preschools, things like Joyful Noise and the Montessori School and so on. So during the visit, they had the opportunity, they spent some time at Joyful Noise. We kind of did a round table where the other service providers, folks like speech language pathologists, OT, PT, presented on the work that they do within our district, but also the other preschools. They heard directly from parents of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds who really, being part of this program has meant even earlier identification of some substantial medical or learning needs of their children. So all in all, and I think I put in the packet, we got super, super positive feedback. I want to publicly acknowledge the woman who has been leading it for us, Lauren Galvano. She's done a dynamite job creating these partnerships. Between us and private preschools, we now have a consortium of 13 different schools and providers. So I think that's really significant. So I think it's great work that's going on within our community, but also moving forward, you know, I've got a high degree of confidence that the substantial funding that we've brought in, roughly $750,000 to $1 million per year, will continue coming in for FY26. So I just wanted to put that on your radar screen, as that was something that just happened on Monday that was extremely positive.
Questions? Seeing none?
And now Michelle has the budget update.
Good evening. You have the May report in front of you tonight. Some highlights of this report are I had to adjust the utilities again because the new gas prices and increases are really starting to affect us a bit, so we're over on that code. Some new special ed children have showed up in the district, which is causing me to use more circuit breaker than I usually do. We've spent $1,266,000 of circuit breaker funds against this budget. We are still in the black by $179,000 going into June, so we should be fine for the rest of the year. And that's about it. That's new. Any questions?
Dr. Miller.
I just have one question. It's not budget per se, this report, but in general.
Mm-hmm.
On commencement day, I was in the gym, and we've got all these sponsor flags up there. What's the business model for that? Is it a one-time donation that an organization gives? It hangs up there for the entire school year? Does that generate an annual fee? I'm just trying to explore.
If Mr. Donovan has worked out a contract with some of these vendors, I know that he's worked out a contract with, I think, Under Armour, where we will get some donations from them. And it's a yearly thing, and the contract is for 3 years, so we will get donations for 3 years. He's looking for more of those donations. They will go through the...
Those banners would come down if it wasn't...
Right, if there's no longer a contract with that vendor, the banner would come down.
Right. And then my other question is, on all of our facilities use fees, how do we account for the total amount of facility use fees? I saw that in there.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we go about allocating that?
Mimi Shorten keeps a large spreadsheet, and she allocates the revenues as they're coming into each individual group. And then the offsetting expenses for custodial time, supplies and stuff, offset those revenues, and the revenues pay for those items.
I'm just trying to anticipate the questions we will get when we go about the FY27 budget, if we could be thinking about some of these pools of money
Mm-hmm.
and on a spreadsheet that we can account for that. it would be helpful, I think,
Mm-hmm.
as they're fielding questions from other boards in the town.
Okay.
So are you suggesting something akin to when we were having the discussion around user fees, sports fees? And I think the spreadsheet that Kevin kind of adopted the template of breaking it down by every single sport to see the plus and minus of how much we're putting out versus how much we're taking in user fees. Same kind of principle.
Exactly, because there is, I heard a perception that we, through good management and good negotiations with various groups and providers, money comes back. And so I heard, where is it? How do you make those allocations?
We can definitely get more granular with that.
I'd just like to have something substantive next go-around.
Okay. We do have more granular data. We just don't present it.
Not for here. No,
Yeah.
I just, thank you.
And I think that, what Sue was referring to, we were talking about those banners hanging in the gym. Last basketball season, there was a scoring table, a new shot clock, et cetera, and there was advertisement on there. And it was like a ticker almost, and there was videos and like quick ads from those with the banners hung from those businesses. So I think maybe did they hang them? They participated in this, maybe in this advertisement during like the basketball season, and now they've just hung banners. Maybe they're still participating, still donating money. So
Well,
maybe that.
All I'm saying, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And if it's useful, we probably could think about growing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we're going to have a
100%.
We're going to
finance,
have to.
we're going to have a finance subcommittee meeting coming up. Maybe if we have a little bit of that granularity for that meeting, it would be helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's easy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I got a small one. School committee contractual services. Is that a mass subscription? Is that Joe Emerson? What is that?
No, Joe Emerson has his own code. That's legal code under the superintendent's office or underneath the business office. I'm not
thank
really
you.
sure. Do know
Probably
what that
the fee that we have to pay to MASC to have the policy manual online.
Yeah.
That's the annual fee.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Moving on. Old business. Other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. Seeing none, we moving on. Back to new business. We've already taken care of the golden apples, so next up is student handbooks.
Maybe we start with Chris to talk about some of the changes in the Forestdale student handbook. I think you have in your packet, I believe, Chris, it was all of 2 pages, if that, page and a half, mostly cosmetic changes, and I believe they're all indicated in red.
Yes, yes. Good evening, everyone. The first edition we have, it's under our frequently asked questions, and it's really just requesting families to write a letter if they want their students to not be photographed, because the implications are, and sometimes, they'll go through and they just see no photo, check. But really what that comes down to is, well, your student's not going to be in the class picture, and they're not going to be in the yearbook. And when we get to that point of the year and they find their students not in there, they're really upset. So this is just really requesting that they write me a letter, and after that letter, I will follow up with a phone call. Just, do you understand that this is the implication of that? And if they understand that, that's fine. So that's the first change or addition. The second is just updated information where we had our cell phone and Apple Watch policy. We're just adding in more devices and saying any device brought in from home. So that would include smartphones, smartwatches, digital cameras, iPads that are not permitted at Forestdale to be used. After that, it's really just some name changes on information in the handbook for staffing information. Any questions?
Chris, just a clarification, under 9th bullet there, behavioral intervention, could you write out whatever BCBA stands for?
Sure. Yeah. That's our behaviors, but we can certainly write that out.
No, so
Yeah,
if somebody's
absolutely.
looking at it without that background, they might not understand. I didn't know what it was. Yeah, I heard the term, but I didn't know
Sure.
what it was. Thanks.
Board certified behavior analyst.
Analyst, yeah.
Yep. Very good.
Well, the A always throws me off, because I always think it's like therapist, but
It's an analyst, yeah.
Any other questions? I just have one. Completely get it on the photo use. I trust you push that because let's be honest, not every parent's going to read this thing cover to cover.
Right.
At the start of the year, you're proactive on checking that with folks.
Sure, yeah,
Pushing that.
absolutely.
So they're on record, they understand.
Absolutely. Usually it's in my introduction letter.
is that way in the yearbook, there were some kids who,
Correct.
it was just like a drawing in the place of their name?
That is correct.
That's cute that they did that. Versus just your name.
Any other questions for Mr. Dentino? It's just a first reading. Maybe we see a clean version at the next, and then we can vote on it for the next meeting.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. So are there no changes for Oak Ridge?
We'll bring those forward at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Nelson, good evening.
Hello. Just like Chris Dentino, we don't have many proposed handbook changes for this year. One is an honor roll, a 3-tier system. So we currently have a 2-tier system, high honors and honor roll. And for the next year, we would like to include a principals list. So 93 for a grade or above in all classes would be principals list. High honors would be 90 or above in all classes, and then honors would be 83 or above in all classes. It's a less restrictive but equally high standard maintenance of expectations. We are updating language. For example, we're replacing tobacco with nicotine because that makes more sense. We're updating the late start schedule and the early release schedules because, like the students mentioned earlier, the early release is no longer 10:40, it's 11 a.m. So simple changes like that. And then the lunch policy included language that was about the cost of lunch. So we wanted to update that currently the first lunch is free, the second lunch comes at a cost. And there's language in the current policy for the locker saying if available, students will receive a locker. And that's not the case. Every student can have a locker and is assigned a locker. So we just wanted to clean that up. We are adding educational components and intervention language to the consequences for serious infractions. We have been doing this. For example, with a nicotine violation, we have a nicotine cessation class. So for the first offense, the student and family can choose to take the class about the health and the impact of nicotine or vaping, and then it minimizes their detention or their discipline. So, but that was never written in the policy. We also have social skills or sensitivity training for other, maybe, unkind language to each other and things like that. So we're going to put those educational components in that we currently use in that list of kind of progressive discipline.
Do we anywhere explain what restorative justice is?
We have that word in there. We can explain that. Yeah.
I don't think,
Sure.
if we're going to use it, let's operationalize it.
Sure.
And maybe some examples of what that might be.
Okay, that's a great idea. And that's in that same area, so we can certainly add that. And then in general, and everything was kind of given to you in red, the suggested changes. Some of the location changes, we have like a security section on protocols to enter the building, and then at the very end, like a few pages later, there's this paragraph about guests. So like just realizing like that should go in under the security category. And the GPA change scale was approved already. So that also will be added into the handbook, the student handbook, really clearly for students to see that.
I have a question on that. Can we touch base on this? So that is going to be implemented in the fall into this handbook. Are we going to be recalculating the present, say, so freshman year, so freshman, sophomore, juniors, this current 4-year cycle here of students, like so classes, class of 26, 27, 28. If you're taking honors in AP, if you're taking it this year, are you recalculating it?
So I spoke to the data specialist about this because the grades at the end of every school year, the grades are historically stored. They're stored. So the students earned those grades under that scale. So this scale starts in September.
In September, okay. Well, I think we acknowledge that there was kind of an injustice here last year. So why should the students in the sophomores, juniors now, why should they be paying the price for working so hard, and not getting credit where credit's due?
Yeah, I guess for me, the only concern I would have would be what would then be reasonable for going back. So now we have students, with transcripts and because the current scale has been in effect for decades. And so I would be hesitant to go backwards and apply it only because now we're saying.
I just think it would get confusing when the kids are applying to colleges. What's the accurate GPA calculation? I feel like we should have it one standard across the board.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point, and I think we're going to study this a little bit more. I also had a conversation with Sue Garvey, who's our district data specialist. I've asked her to put something out on a Power School user group of data specialists, because I'm sure we're not the first school in America who's made this type of change. To Jeannie's point, there is very much a pragmatic concern as far as, because really what you're saying is to kind of retroactively go back and recalculate using the new scale. That may be a little bit easier said than done once the grades are in and they're locked and they're kind of in the system. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I think
where credit's due, these kids have worked really hard, and so it's almost as if we should have been, encouraging our children to take CP classes the first couple years of high school, if it doesn't matter that, kids have been really working hard to attain these grades and to get the credit where credit's due.
You could always also, for a period of time, to cover the incoming classes, make a note on your transcript to explain the change, that there was a change going forward.
I just don't want to see this hurting the kids that are graduating next year, the kids in the couple years, when they're applying for colleges. And, GPA ranking, it goes a long way when you're applying to colleges. So I just feel sorry for the kids that have worked really hard.
There may be a way, and that's where we're working with Sue Garvey. So there may be a way, because GPA is recalculated every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yep.
So the transcript, the grades are the grades on the transcript. So if they take the grades, A, B, C, they take the levels, and then they're updating the GPA. So they're going to take those grades from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. They're going to calculate it with this scale now. They're not taking the GPA every single. If they take the transcript, all I'm saying is there may be a possibility to take the transcript as is and move progressively forward with the current scale, with this scale, the new scale.
New scale. Okay. So when will we find that out? We're going to have her look into it.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I would hope so.
And it would have to be timely. I mean, you wouldn't push it past the current, the ninth grade class in the fall would be affected by it, right? Or whenever you start calculating.
It would really affect the class of 26, 27, and 28, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, those three classes. And then the incoming freshmen will be fine because they'll have kind of a clean slate under the new GPA scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not, I had asked questions about this offline, and I would agree with Danielle. I do think, I mean, there was, I sat in on a student school council meeting about this. And I know when we talked, you said there was kind of universal support from the staff. If we don't, I mean, we're not changing, the grades are locked, we're just changing the factor by which we calculate a number. Hopefully there's a way to do that, because otherwise we're going to be living with this kind of blended system for 3 years, and I think that'll be, we're going to have to need to explain that in the handbook. And I think that's just really awkward, and I got to think we can do that. And I did note, though minor, the table that was being previously used did have some mathematical errors in it, so that should be fixed anyway. For a couple different grades, if the 1.06 and the 1.112, the math didn't match. It was minor, but again, it might make a difference between a kid being a Silver Scholar and not, and we owe them the accuracy. So if we could revisit this, I would ask that we do that.
And also, if it is something that it cannot be changed, we can't really eliminate the old information in the present handbook. I think we would have to have 2 sections, correct? Because you just want to remove the information about the class rank and the scale of the GPA. It would get confusing for parents. If a parent open up a new handbook and say we weren't able to recalculate everything just so, we would have to have 2 tables, for maybe say the class of 26, 27, 28. I don't know. I just don't think we can eliminate it from the handbook.
Well, it's, I understand your point, and to a certain degree, I agree. But you would also make the point that this was the previous weighting system that was used through the 24-25 school year.
Okay. Well, as soon as we can find out some info from the data specialists, that would be helpful.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think it would also, and this is probably more of a deeper dive, I would be very interested to model, say, with one class, like the class of 26. What does it look like moving forward? What does it look like recalibrated or retroactively applied? How much does it change things?
Yeah. I think it would. I think it would change quite a bit. I honestly do.
I think the key is simplicity for parents and students for the next 3 years would be my, so.
And as kids are applying to colleges, it will be easier to read, easier for colleges to understand. Thank you.
Any other, is that the last, I'm sorry. Is that your last slide, Jeannie?
I believe it is, yeah.
Bert.
Question of much less importance.
Put your microphone on.
You're supposed to tell me. A question of much less importance. Before I ask the question, do the kids say, in the morning announcements, do you do the pledge?
Yes.
Okay. So in here, you're deleting, students are asked to respect the needs and interests of the school community and listening to the morning announcements. So is it, that will be on page 36. About in the middle of the page. I don't know if you're 36. It's under communication.
Oh, so we wanted to remove this because we have a variety of modes to communicate information to students. So I think the plan was they're asked to respect the needs and interests in listening to the morning announcements. But we also have televisions all over the school that give the announcements. So we wanted to kind of open it up with other modes of communication as well, in addition to the morning announcements.
On the face of it, it seems like you're basically saying they don't have to respect the needs and interests because you're taking that out.
Okay. So I think that was misunderstood. In my notes here, it says important sentence, add variety of modes. So then it must have been removed. That was not the intent to delete entirely. It was to add variety of modes of communication.
Oh, you were going to change it?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll change it.
You also have questions? I got a couple. Some of them are pretty minor, just clarification, but I did it by, not on your slides, but by page. On page 11, where is it? It talks about during school hours. It says, for the protection of students and staff, the building will be locked during school hours throughout the day and evening. So is it going to be during school hours or throughout the day and evening? Because we don't normally lock it in the evening.
So, what page?
Page 11, right? First sentence under emergency protocols.
Okay. So the building will be locked during school hours. That was the update. So throughout the day and evening is out, and during school hours is in.
Okay, it just,
So I didn't, my administrative assistant made the edits, but we have the,
I think what would be very helpful if she can do strike-throughs.
sure.
It's
Okay.
much easier to comprehend what it's going to look like when it's
Okay.
clean. Kind of like the acronym that Sue mentioned, the next one, it mentioned the CSTAG.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
That's a
If
new
we could
one.
explain what that is, 'cause,
sure.
most people probably don't know what that is. And again, this might be, skip into 14. I'm sorry I didn't get these to you earlier. A lot of them are minor. I just didn't have time to write it all out today. Where is it? So it's the very last sentence, food or drink, delete including water, may not be consumed or stored in any classroom dedicated to science, engineering, fine arts, or computer technology. Are we saying we're going to allow water, just nothing?
We allow water, yes, yes.
That's where the strike through would be helpful.
Yep. Okay.
Because I didn't understand that. It says, next page 15, after school policy, it says, coaches and advisors must directly supervise their students who are waiting for rides. No student athlete should be left unsupervised. I mean, I think, I read that. I mean, there's often, almost any time I go up there, there's always a kid out front waiting for mom or dad to pick them up. So
I think the hope is that the coach has not left the premises if there are still students on campus or clubs. For example, the students go down to the main lobby. The club advisor might be in a classroom. They're going down to wait for their rides, but then the club advisor will come down. If there's still a student there, then they won't leave.
And I'm not suggesting the coach needs to be on the curb, but it says directly supervised, so I didn't know what we're stating and what we really
Okay,
in
we
practice.
can change that language.
Maybe
if
like
that's-
stay on the premises.
Yeah.
Within the building until the students are.
I don't think a 16-year-old kid needs the coach sit next to him on the.
No, I think it also alludes to like locker rooms, like students shouldn't be in the locker room without an adult, that like after school.
Just so it's
situations.
clear what that means, because then someone
Okay.
could say, a parent could come back and say, hey, nobody was directly supervising my kid, so. And 36, the senior privileges. All the way to the end. It says senior using senior privileges must be in school by 8 a.m. Is that like senior week? Or is that all year? 'Cause school starts at 7:30. I wasn't sure what that meant.
The privilege is you can be late.
You have 2 penalty-free tardies as a senior. So that's a carryover from before, but 2 penalty-free tardies per semester, but the tardy has to be by 8 a.m.
Is that
Right,
what it is? Yeah, you
right.
get 2 penalty-free if
Right.
you're in the school by 8 a.m.
2 of those
Two of
tardies
those
would
are-
be eliminated.
Yeah, the very first bullet says seniors using senior privileges must be in school by 8 a.m.
Right, because the senior privilege, I can clear that up, but the senior privilege is 2 kind of penalty-free tardies. So if they're going to use that, the tardy has to be under 8 a.m.
Well, that first bullet sounds like I don't have to be in until 8 a.m. all year,
Right.
how I read it, so. Okay, if we could clean those up, I'd
Okay.
appreciate it.
Just
Dr.
while we're
Miller.
on senior privileges, you're adding seniors must be in good academic and behavioral standing. Academic standing is easy. That's a grade threshold, right? What is behavioral standing?
So it would be owed detention hours, for example.
Let's say
Yeah,
it.
okay, sure,
Okay.
yep.
All right. Any other questions? Sorry for making you flip pages, I just wanted to clarify it. But where we can, if we can do strike-throughs, so it's very easy for us to read, so we know what
Okay.
the finished product's going to look, that'd be helpful. Anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, next up is discussion of annual July school committee retreat or workshop. I think the intent, remember what date we have scheduled for it?
July 29th,
29. It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday evening.
So, we don't have, last year we had Jim Hardy come in and or in the past he's come in, we've done a self-evaluation, we've done some like goal setting, things like that. We certainly can do that again. I have not yet met Jim Hardy's replacement. The other thought was we are going to be rolling out a new strategic plan. I see Sue nodding her head in almost violent agreement.
That was on my list, process.
That maybe we take our workshop and, Alexi, what we do is, it's not here, we've done it in the high school library, it's much more relaxed, less formal, and we really just kind of have a bit more of an open forum. And I think that'd be a good opportunity to present the whole strategic plan to us first. So, does that work for everybody? Does anybody want to focus on something else? Is the 29th of July still a good date for everybody? Any showstoppers?
That week's actually good. Evening, usually?
Yeah, we generally,
5 or 6?
I think we've done, pizza and salad and start at 6.
Sure.
Four Seas ice cream?
Huh?
Ice cream?
We should do a taste.
4 Cs, absolutely.
Yes. Maybe Twin Acres.
Or Twin Acres, either one.
Foreseas.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll blindfold Bert and that one.
So that will be the plan, unless anybody has any thoughts or concerns. Awesome. Moving on. Next up is other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I have none. Subcommittee reports. Student Advisory Committee update. I think that's me. We met tonight once more time with our Student Advisory Committee, our last time for the season. Had a good discussion with them. Always good to see them. We have addressed a lot of the things they brought up in the past, paper towels, some silly, interesting stuff. They wanted more international trips, and really we didn't do anything, but 2 weeks later we approved 2 new trips, so sometimes we're lucky. They did ask about, and this is going to be a much longer term issue that we have not resolved yet, is traffic flows in and out of the school in the morning and the afternoon. All the kids rush and try to beat the buses and things like that. I don't know if there's a easy solution there, and Jeannie's going to nod her head and agree with me on that one. So, but a couple things they did bring up tonight is for the juniors looking at colleges, increased training on Naviance. Not a lot of kids are very confident on how to use all the pieces and parts of that platform. That's the platform they use for letters of recommendation, everything else to work with colleges. So that is certainly something guidance can work on. They brought up inoperative gas lines in the chemistry labs. That's going to be addressed over the summer. One issue was brought up about the choirs used to be mixed grade, like 7th and 8th grade, and that changed this year. And a colleagues at the table know this, but then for anybody listening at home, part of that was to align teacher planning time, so teachers could coordinate their planning, and because they had the same blocks free, because they could do that. But they are going to look at other opportunities, other areas where kids might be able to build relationships between classes. And in that same theme, they brought up, how do we connect Sandwich Middle High School to Oak Ridge, to Forestdale? How do we connect the bigs to the littles, if I can say it so simply? But I think that is actually going to be a focus area of the strategic plan, so we'll talk more about that. We don't meet with them again until the fall, but those are the things they brought up. Did I miss anything? Anybody want to mention? Good job. Okay. See none. Next up is Budget Subcommittee.
Budget Subcommittee, we had Finance Subcommittee? Yes.
Finance is the formal name.
We initially decided to have a meeting on June 18th, I believe, at 5 p.m. We're in the midst of discussing a change to that, and we are looking to do that prior to the school committee meeting on June 25th. The single item to be discussed is the fee schedule for facilities and various other things for next year, which will have to come back for a vote.
Right. Two pieces to that. One, potentially increasing where appropriate. We've heard how successful all the Oak Ridge after-school programs are, but we're a victim of our own success. We need more stipends than we're bringing in, and it's in many cases people are using it essentially as daycare. I don't say that in a bad way. It's just that's not what the budget is for. So maybe we need to make some adjustments there. And also, I think as a general practice, we should probably be reviewing and voting on those every year. We have not done that traditionally, but I think that would be something we should do going forward. So that's the goal there. Anybody else? Seeing none. Liaison Advisory Committee reports. From the Safety Committee, we did do the third and final reunification drill.
Yeah, evac reunification.
Thank you. Went very well, smoothly, got a little bit better every time. That was the Oak Ridge one. It was a smaller participation, not that it's bad, because we needed parents to basically bring their kids. We could not do it at the end of the day because of the domino effect on the rest of the buses. But I think they refined, every time they did it, they kind of refined the process. I don't know if there's anything you want to add. So, did we ever get the video from the Medway Police?
Did not.
Maybe we asked SROs. Medway Police was nearby for supporting, nothing to do with Sandwich, and they came down and they actually filmed a lot of it with their drone because they want to, one, because they were nearby and they wanted to play with their drone. The second piece is they're actually bringing this back to Medway because we are ahead of them, if you will, and it's something they need to look at. So, seeing nobody else, next up is warrants.
I make a motion that we approve the warrants that were signed as presented tonight.
Motion by Ms. Benendez, second by Mr. Fisher. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 6-0-1. Next up is our second public forum of the evening. Would anybody like to come forward and speak at public forum? Going, gone. Seeing none. Next up is future agenda items.
I just had one. It was brought to my attention, Sandwich is getting together and forming a group. Next year, the country will be celebrating our 250th birthday, and Sandwich is forming a committee, and they were hoping it to be along the same lines as the Thornton Burgess 150th birthday, and possibly do a time capsule and have the schools be involved. Because there was a time capsule from 1876. And when they opened it in 1976, there was nothing from the children in town. There was no women and no children involvement. And so, yes. So I know. So Bob Thompson of the library trustees and the town archivist are going through the old time capsule and going through it bit by bit. So I think it's something we should entertain next year and get different organizations within the schools to contribute. And then, if they open it up in 2076, these students now will be around and hopefully can
I think
open
it's
it up.
fascinating.
I think it would be great.
I remember the bicentennial. I think
Yeah.
I was the fourth grader that year. It was a great year. But I need to know, is Constable Thompson chairing this committee?
I don't know that she's chairing it, but she's part of it. Of course she's part of it.
Okay, very good. Count me in.
But I think it's something we should address in the fall. Let's do this. Let's
And maybe that's something, just, I'm not volunteering myself, just to be clear, but we have a representative to that committee or a liaison to committee of some sort as it goes forward, so we can make the schools part of it.
School's part of it. I
Great.
would happily do it if the retiree.
Okay, I have a nomination of Ms. Benenda. All in favor? I don't think we need a formal vote, but I think she's nominated herself. I think that's under the duties of the vice, so there we go. With that, any other agenda items? Seeing none. Acknowledgements, closing remarks. Dr. Miller.
Just thanks to everyone who is involved with commencement and all the senior-related activities. The awards night was amazing. What was it, over $150,000?
$151,525.
Amazing. The good news about 137 graduates is there's a lot to go around,
Yeah.
and around, and very impressive. So the hard work of the faculty, the students, the families, pretty amazing.
Ms. Nelson for keeping the rain off.
Anyone else? I would just echo Sue. I think I said it after my first time I attended graduation. I admitted it had never been. It's an awesome day. It's a privilege to be on the field and watch the kids get their diplomas. I think it's something when I'm no longer sitting in one of these chairs, I'm still going to go to every year. I think it's just, as part of the community, it's just an awesome, awesome event. Compliments to Ms. Nelson again for everything that happened. I thought your speech was awesome as well, connecting the kids from through the years. The other thing that I think that was really cool, congratulations to Mr. McNeil. They started that last year where they have a faculty, the senior class selects a member of the faculty to be their kind of speaker. I think that's I'm not sure if it's quite a tradition, but it's become one pretty fast. I think that's an awesome way to do it. And he indeed low-key cooked. So you had to be there. Anyone else? I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn our meeting until the next meeting, which will be June 25th at 6 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Ms. Goodwin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned, unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the 25th.